We know your Shakespeare adaptation and now Agatha Christie. Do these two writers have something in common?
I think they do, actually. They are both popular entertainers, and on the surface their stories tell simple tales in some regards, and they make storytelling look easy. But in both cases I think they always provide hints of deeper themes and more powerful ideas and emotions. And in Murder on the Orient Express, I think that Agatha Christie puts something in the middle of the story so sort of profound and awful, a piece of human pain that is uncovered during the course of this wonderful travelogue in the golden age of travel with elegant passengers and fun, that as the story begins with a kind of embracing of the journey, and then it moves into a murder mystery, and then it becomes this psychological drama, which I found very surprising and also very emotional. And both she and Shakespeare have that secret surprise quality in their writing.
And even if we know how Hamlet ends and how Agatha Christie ends, we have fun.
We do have fun, and also we've tried in the film with Michael Green's excellent screenplay. We start differently. We have different characters, and then at the end, I think we pursue a twist which is, a sort of moral twist, if you like, a moral coda that's to do with once you find out who did it, how they did it, and crucially why they did it. The big question is, so what next? What is justice? And that becomes, for our Poirot, quite a problem.
Who takes up the knife?
Cannot trust no one. Another one?
What was the most demanding for you as a cinematographer? We have there a wonderful photography, surprising very, very often.
Well, I guess the most demanding was to just maintain a kind of momentum during the shoot. The confined space slows us all down quite a lot. And these additionally large cameras as well, however fantastic the images, they really provide a challenge. And I think with Ken we really like to keep a momentum going on a film set, and it keeps a certain discipline. It keeps, you know that you will always capture the performance, and I think that really was the thing to look out for and to try and keep.
And here particularly we sort of made a decision that inside this sort of elegant, formal subject matter, we wanted a very spontaneous and improvisational quality to the performances. So we really, I'd say to Harris, when those 12 movie stars arrive and get in this carriage, we've got to be ready. I mean, I don't really want to rehearse with them.
But then on the set, there was still improvisation?
Yes, absolutely. For this specific example, there's a scene between myself and Johnny Depp, which was wildly improvised, because he's a master of that, and he'd done so much work on his character that he could do that and still provide the information that we needed for the plot, but go on little sideways, kind of deviations that were great. And sometimes there was a scene with Daisy Ridley as Mary Debenham where she also had a moment of not quite remembering her lines, staying in the scene, continuing, we cut, and she said, "I'm so sorry, I should have just stopped." I said, no, that's perfect, that's exactly what we want, because what you bravely did was we saw you not quite knowing what you were doing, and in an Agatha Christie film, that looks so real, it makes us feel you're definitely lying. So they were brave like that, and we worked hard to create a rhythm where we would just sort of keep going, because everything was about finding reality in the performances.
But you know how wonderful experience and fun it is for us viewers to welcome each of the passenger of the Kenneth Branagh Orient Express. It's incredible. Was it easy to invite such a group of passengers?
A momentum started once Judi Dench became involved. She was the first person, and she said yes before I finished the sentence asking her. And people were very excited to work with her, Johnny Depp particularly, and then Penélope Cruz had worked with her before, and Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer on the first day when they all met each other and everybody was curtsying in front of Judi because she's played the Queen so many times. Michelle Pfeiffer then got on the train and was very emotional, and I wondered what was wrong, and she said, "I just met Judi Dench," and she had tears in her eyes. So there there was a sense of event, that this would be unusual, they'd get to have a great part, but then they'd also get to be part of this ensemble where they didn't carry the bulk of the responsibility, but where they had the real joy of passing the ball to another actor who they really admired.
This is criminal, but there are also, in your movie, there are also scenes which are symbolic, like this Last Supper. It's a very nice idea.
Well, the idea, I suppose, came from a moment of understanding that Poirot has his sort of obsessive compulsive qualities make him start to see something of this judgment day. He starts to understand it in these biblical terms, and now he's going to be looking at that table now quite differently and asking, who is Judas? Who is the traitor?
Exactly.
You start to see a sort of poetic quality in Poirot's mind that also lets us have a cinematic sort of moment of beauty that was wonderfully done by Harris.
It was your idea to frame it like this?
It was Ken.
Yes.
I went to see the painting, which I didn't even know wasn't a canvas. It was only when I went did I discover it was on the wall in the chapel in Milan. Yeah, but it haunted me. And then she continues to be obsessed in the piece with 12 people, the same number as would be on a jury in most Western countries, and but also is the number of the disciples. And she. There's also, yes, that's somehow, it was part of what in our last act started to send the kind of emotions deeper, so that it came from somewhere darker and more passionate and more ancient. Because Agatha Christie seems like the representative of quiet England, cardigans and pearls, but the stories she writes are primitive and primal because they're always to do with violent crime, they're always to do with death. So she unleashes very raw emotions in people that go all the way back to sort of biblical themes.
What we see on the screen, this is also a kind of using new technologies in some of the scenes. But you are using it in a very, I would say, poetic way. Have you studied how to use, what are possibilities to?
Well, I mean, on one technical level, we knew, having explored the idea of filming on real railways, that is logistically so difficult. And if you've got 12 movie stars and the train pulls out of the station, you go, oh, you know what, Penelope's hair, we need to fix that, bring it back. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, that train has to go where it has to go. So we knew we needed to keep it where we were. And then Harris did a brilliant shoot in New Zealand for moving footage, which we then projected on LED screens outside the train carriages, and that in itself was pretty innovative, wasn't it? And there we tested real footage, your stuff, and the results were amazing, amazing.
I mean, it's an old technique. It's called process work, where you create the illusion of a moving train or a moving vehicle. But we used a very modern technology, in particular these LED screens. They were quite a new thing. But all film is impressionism. What was interesting for us to play with in preparing for the film was what is the kind of what creates the impression of movement, and it's amazing what subtle small things you need, but in the hydraulics, in the way the water in a glass, and these were all fun things for us to do, and they allowed us to keep that momentum we talked about earlier, and to kind of concentrate on performance and framing and also I think one of the great things about preparing the way we do on films is you know, to some extent it's a bit like being in a jazz band. There are some standards that you kind of learn.
That's very nice.
But then
there's some people riff.
Yes, but there's something great about that and fun about that and special about that, but especially when it's not labored and it's spontaneous.
This is also about journey. Orient Express by Kenneth Branagh. This is the kind of lack of journey in our life. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think that one of the things about train travel is feeling the miles under your feet, and also feeling sometimes the chance to really be in the landscape as you pass by it. You know, I several times, although our train was an illusion, I would go down to the end of the train while I was waiting for lighting to look out at the landscape. I wanted to. It was silly. I was looking at a recording really, but it really It made me feel I was there. Judi Dench, the first time we used this technology, left the set saying, "I've got motion sickness," because she was so convinced. But the idea of a journey on which you learn things and on which you cope with isolation, and in which you understand the concept of travel and distance and perspective, offers a way of looking back at that which you left and that which you are going to in a different way. So the journey becomes a way of genuinely looking at your life with some perspective and distance. And the distance here is on a train in the middle of a dangerous nowhere.
Thank you very much.
You can't trust a woman.
Morderstwo w Orient Expressie w kinach.